worldly desires, spending years surrounded by the wrong types of people and drifting further from God until he was 18. My story was the opposite. I didn't grow up in church, and none of my family knew or knows Christ yet, but we are planting seeds every single day. When I was younger, I spent a lot of my time studying at home. When I was in year 7, I wanted to do my GCSE maths. I got 2 9s and 1 8, so they wouldn't let me do the exam. And then I got bored and frustrated at school because I felt like I had nothing new to learn there. So just like Mathew, I got lost. Now, we met when we were 15 on the park, and we met Cole as well there. Through some mutual friends. I could immediately sense that Mathew was on the same wavelength as me. I wanted to talk about deeper topics, and Mathew was the one person I could do that with. We have both pushed each other to be better over the years. Mathew eventually introduced me to his dad, who was a born-again man of God. At the time, I was having a lot of issues with my stepdad and my family. I always had one, so I started spending all my time at Mathew's house. One day, I spoke to Mathew's dad about what I was going through. He introduced the Lord to me and gave me my very first Bible. We sat and spoke about God for 3 hours or so. Mathew actually got bored and went to bed because he said he'd heard it all before. Looking back, I realised that we still wouldn't actually come to Christ until much later on. The real turning point came when Mathew moved in with me for a short time, and within a week, Mathew's dad sadly passed away. It was heartbreaking for everyone, but it got us and his whole family thinking about God more and remembering everything his dad had told us. Mathew eventually went to work in Derbyshire, and while he was there, he was the most lost he had ever been in his life. But every single night, he prayed to God to prove himself. He did this for a whole year, feeling hopeless, but never stopping. While he was away, I started studying all the different religions seriously, including the Bible. I realised Christ was in a different category of his own. Faith in him is evidence-based, and when I read his words, it doesn't sound like just rules or a nice philosophy. It sounds like he's speaking from the perspective of the person who designed us, in the way that he breaks down human nature very clearly and speaks in parables and metaphors. I started going to church and talking deeply with Andrew, asking him questions for about a year. When Mathew came back, he and I spent all of our time discussing the Bible together. Everything changed on the night of October 29th, 2025. Mathew was sitting on his bed and felt a sudden command to get a Bible. He grabbed his brother's Bible and prayed, "If it's in your will, show me something." He flicked open to a random page and it landed on John 20. He read the part where Thomas doubted Jesus was alive until he saw the holes in his hands. Then Jesus appears, tells him to touch his body, and Thomas bows down saying, "My Lord and my God." The verse that changed everything for Mathew was, "You believe because you see, but blessed are those who have not seen yet believe." In that moment, Mathew felt an instant change in his heart. Without a doubt, he knew it was God. He sat in silence, completely overwhelmed. Earlier that same night, I was sitting reading my Bible. It was either Matthew or Mark, and it was coming up to the crucifixion. I just had this thought, what you are reading is not a lie. I immediately stood up and put my hands on my head. I tried to say something, but I couldn't. I went into the shower because I was so overwhelmed and didn't know what to do. And then I started picturing the crucifixion. I came out of the shower, went into my room, and immediately dropped to the floor and cried for about half an hour or so. When I stood up to get a glass of water, my brothers tried to speak to me, but I just said, "Speak to me tomorrow," because I was too overwhelmed to even maintain a conversation with anybody. Jesus had moved from my mind to my heart after a year of studying the Bible and going to church. The next day, I didn't really want to, but I felt the need to go and see Mathew. I didn't say anything to him over text about what had happened, but as soon as he opened the door, he said, "Yo, I'm 100% Christian now." I said, "That's exactly why I came here. Did the same thing happen to you last night?" He said yes, and I knew a big conversation was coming. We spoke for hours before I had to go to work. When I went back to his after work that night, we spoke about God non-stop for another 5 hours until the early hours of the morning. Now we are completely free from all addictions and have more focus on our ambitions than ever before. Our biggest desire is to live like Christ did. We have so much peace and clarity now. I even get up at 4 o'clock in the morning just to pray, and I thank God for all the pain and the temptations that he lets come my way, building my character, and I am stronger than ever through him. It does not by any means mean that I am a disciplined man. It just means that I love God. I even spent the best £3 of my life and bought a 3-metre roll of paper from Sainsbury's so I could write the word of God on it and pin it to all 4 walls of my bedroom so I could live in the word, literally. My dad even came into my room once and said, once I had done it, and said I was going to be sectioned. I told him, "Thank you for the compliment, because when you are with Christ, you become something else, and that might look abnormal to people. People even laughed at Jesus himself, and if I'm reflecting Jesus, then people should be laughing at me and telling me I'm going to get sectioned. It's actually a compliment to me as a disciple of my Lord and brother and everything, Jesus Christ. The key thing to take away from this testimony is that if Matthew's dad had never come to Christ, Mathew would have never been born, and I would have never, ever known Christ. Thank you for listening.